Surprise, surprise. Welcome to Requiem for a Wednesday. Uh-oh. It's me, Adam Pecora. How you doing? Welcome back. Thought I was gonna skip ya, but I didn't. Isn't that fun? What a nice little bonus surprise this is. I'm going to mention this in next week by default because I did that one before this. But banking episodes here because I'm going to be out of town next week. Yet again, we're going to be filming episode 100's video special in New York, barring technical difficulties. And wanted to make sure I got an episode in for you. So I was originally going to skip this week. Ended up having more time than I thought. So we're going to do a little NFL free agency episode because there's so much fucking shit going on. I can't even make sense of it, really. This has got to be the craziest offseason in a long time. Like, I can't even really remember it. Anyway, so before we do that, let me do the plugs. You know how it is. Please, please, please rate. Give me 5 stars. Review. Give me a good review. And subscribe to Requiem for a Tuesday wherever you listen to it. Even if you don't listen to it, maybe do it in places where you don't listen to it. Then you got to deal with me as much. But I still get the data. Just kidding. Listen. The music, Multiplex and Wolf X. I got stuff. Me and Justice got stuff. It's streaming everywhere. Get the merch at rfat.bigcartel.com. Check out Justice's show, Microwave Minutes. Follow me on Instagram at adam.rfat. All linked in the description below. Enjoy. Thank you. How you doing? Again. You haven't told me. Seems like I do all the talking here. So my original plan was to have this episode be the banked episode, but then I realized that so much crazy shit is happening every single day that it would be so significantly out of date given how much more news could happen, that this one got pushed up in the order. Who knows? Shit, by the time this comes out tomorrow, it might be fucked. So basically I found a tracker on NFL.com. I'm just going to go team by team, point out any of the big ones, because that's the easiest way to do it. It's too chaotic for me to have any structure in this. I kind of wanted to go in order of like when transactions happened, but there's just been so fucking much. We're going to go one by one, just talk a little football today. If you don't like that, well, go fuck yourself. This is America, goddammit. Yesterday when I brought up, I'm just going to tell a little anecdote first. When I saw the breaking news that Matt Ryan got traded, someone said to me, I only follow real sports. That guy's a soccer fan. Shout out, Matt. What a just embarrassing opinion, though. I'm sorry. Football's not a real sport? That doesn't even make any sense. On what grounds? I've heard the argument that because they wear pads, that it's not that tough. Let me tell you something. I've heard the comparison that like rugby is more tough because they don't wear pads. That's why they don't wear pads. Because they don't need to. If motherfuckers in the NFL weren't wearing pads, there'd be dead people. Everybody would get hurt all the time. These are the greatest athletes in America. Which means they're the greatest athletes in the world. Okay? I'm just saying, it's a crazy different type of athlete that you have to be to play any position in the NFL. And that's that. We're just going to move on from there. Okay, so let's go team by team here. The Bills. They did a lot of smaller deals. Now they secured some spots on the O-line, a lot of reserves on offense. They got backup quarterbacks, role receivers. O.J. Howard never has gone into his potential. Defensive line got a huge boost. They signed 4 D linemen. Nothing super splashy, but then they had Von Miller. 6 years, $120 million. Von Miller's 32, and I feel like I mean, he's still great. You know, he had 9+ sacks yet again. 6 years, $120 million. I don't know. It's just like, is Von Miller still that kind of force? I feel like they super overpaid. And the length of the deal is the big thing. If you wanted to go 3 years at $20 million a year, now, you know, only 51 of the $120 million is guaranteed. And they did front load the deal. But still, steep price. Maybe they had to do it to get him. I'm sure there was a lot of competition. I don't know. I just feel like they're going to regret that in 2 years. But hey, if he has a big year and they win the fucking Super Bowl, the deal's worth it anyway, which they have a great chance to do. We'll get into that. Mostly just because the West is so crazy. The Dolphins didn't really make any noteworthy moves. Same type of thing. They just kind of filled in a lot of reserve spots. Backup quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. He'll probably end up starting because Tua sucks. You know, backup running backs, all that, we can just move on. You know, the Dolphins are never noteworthy, really, except for when the owner's paying people to lose. Funny how that just went away, too. That was quick. Brian Flores, I believe, still doesn't have a job also, so everybody just kind of gave up on that. Remember that whole boom about how minority coaches need to be heard and hired and all that, and then free agency started and it just goes away? The NFL just... the masters of shutting down their own horrific incidents. It's really impressive. The Patriots, nothing really. They kind of just lost people. They re-signed a bunch of guys, you know, that are staples of the team, but they traded away Shaq Mason for nothing. 5th-round pick to the Bucks. Maybe they know something they don't, you know, the Bucks don't know, but I doubt that. I think he'll probably be pretty good, especially playing for Brady again, who's coming back. I don't know. Patriots kind of just lost a bunch of shit that they probably won't be able to fill in the draft, although, you know, Belichick thinks he can. But I'm kind of expecting a down year for the Pats here. Really nothing noteworthy at all. So, yikes. To Pats fans, I think the run's over. We can say it officially now. The Cam Newton year didn't go great. Mac Jones is back. Looks great. And then they fell off a cliff. So we'll see what happens there. The Jets. Here's the thing. Does it ever really matter what the Jets do? It doesn't matter how good the moves seem to be on paper. They're just always the Jets. Other than the Rex Ryan years, the Jets have been an atrocious franchise. I was going to say atrocity, and then it just kept going, so I ruined that. They've been an atrocious franchise my entire life, other than those few years with Ryan, and they were great. Remember the Thomas Jones LT year? That was a great team. I loved that team. They were very likable. And, you know, they signed a lot of big players, but they're still the Jets, so I'm not that interested. The Bills are going to run away with that division, you know, barring something absolutely earth-shattering happening. AFC North, Baltimore, also not really making any moves. Marcus Williams is the big one, the safety, 5 years, $70 million. But, I mean, the Ravens have a ton of problems. I've talked about this at length, ad nauseum, if you will. I don't really see them improving. Again, like, Lamar needs real weapons. They should have made the Devontae Adams trade, which we'll get into when we get there, especially given the price. They need a real receiver. Like, they need one real receiver, and I don't know. Maybe they'll address that in the draft finally, but that team's not going to go anywhere unless they make changes to that offense. Notice how since his MVP year, the production just dips and dips and dips. It's just not sustainable, as I've discussed. The Bengals, look at them actually doing what they should do. Known for being a super stingy front office, not wanting to pay people, not investing really into their own team at all. They make it to the Super Bowl. The offensive line is horrific the whole time. They should not have made it there. They shouldn't have even been very good. Burrow, Chase, undeniable. So what do? They signed Lyle Collins, huge free agent. Alex Kappa, huge free agent. Ted Karras, huge free agent. Offensive line instantly, 100% improved? If Joe Burrow's sacks get cut in half, it's a huge improvement, seeing as how he got sacked like 70 times, including the playoffs. And they signed a bunch of dudes on defense, too. They would have lost Larry Ogunjobi to the Bears, but he missed a physical. So the only Bears move that was big did not go very well. The Bengals are in great position now to win this division again, barring what happens to the Browns, which I'm about to get to. And the Steelers, I guess you never really know, just because Mike Tomlin's a fucking gangster. But I don't see any reason why the Bengals shouldn't be the favorite. They already had the best offense in the division, and it's only going to be much better now. So, and the defense put up a lot of fight. They played way better than you would ever anticipate. So I'm excited to see what happens there. I'm a Bengals guy now. Joe Burrow's the fucking man. I love that team. All right. Cleveland Browns, they get Deshaun Watson. Controversial Deshaun Watson. This dude got to still pick his own destiny. A 6th round pick, 3 first-round picks, a 3rd rounder, 2 4th rounders, and he's getting a fully guaranteed $230 million contract. This happened right after he was reported to be out of the Cleveland race, and Cleveland was like, no, we're going to do whatever it takes for this guy. And he got to call his own shot and do all that shit. They also had Amari Cooper, which is big. They signed Jakeem Grant from the Bears. You know, whatever. It'll be huge in a small role for him there. And they added some other good players on defense. The Watson thing. It's very complicated. Don't get me wrong. But I said this when it first happened. Like, why are we jumping to this has to be for sure? Now, I know that this sounds bad. Again, like, if he did it, he deserves to never play again and deserves to go to jail. The criminal charges got dropped. And so they went after him. Now, should he have gotten this kind of market? Like, no, that's wrong. He should be, it should have tarnished, like, what he's worth. You know what I'm saying? Now, I understand on the Texans terms, like, for the trade, you're going to get big things, or you're just going to fucking leave this guy on the roster and not play him. Just be like, fuck you. You can't blame the Texans for making the trade because they get a huge thing back. Now, the Browns, kind of embarrassing. My only thing is just, I talk about this on what'll be next week's episode. My tendency is just like when there's a major consensus that's just everybody has decided this is how it is, I just naturally am like, well, what about the other side? Can we just even talk about the other side? Why is it taboo to just, you know, look at it from all angles? This is what I said when it happened. Like, what if this is just like an extortion plot thing? Whatever, however you want to word it. Again, if he did it, it's horrific. I don't condone this in any way. I'm just saying there is a chance that he's innocent and this was a smear thing. But it's just like the response that I hear from everybody is like, this is an abhorrent, horrific thing. Yet last season, everybody's like, oh, Ben Roethlisberger, what a class act. All the years he spent in the NFL, what an icon. Oh, this is his last game. Look at him cry. Isn't this a beautiful moment? And it's like, didn't Ben Roethlisberger like rape multiple women? And the response to that, you could say, oh, well, it got dropped. Oh, so that means he's innocent. Like, he just gets to do it? And we just all forget? But Deshaun Watson is a monster by default because he was accused. So that means he did it. Well, my thing is just like, if you're going to treat one thing one way, you should treat the other the same way. That's really where it comes from. Because everybody's like, oh, this is a dark day for the NFL. It's like, well, is it? Because what about that guy? Or what about, 9, 10 other guys I'm sure you could name that are still playing? Now, again, Cleveland, they're just like, oh, he got clear of criminal charges. We'll take him. I want him. We'll do whatever. That's crazy. I do agree with that sentiment. But if you're going to have that sentiment, you have to have it about other shit. So it just bothers me that everybody's like, fuck this guy no matter what. Because that's the right thing to say, and I don't want to get in trouble on the internet. If you actually want to analyze the scenario, then do that appropriately. But because the right thing to say on Twitter would be they're terrible for even associating themselves with him. Well, it's like, well, he's still in the NFL. If the suspension happens, then, there it is. But as bad as this sounds, I mean, it's their job to win football games. It's the criminal justice system who's in charge of the other stuff. So, like, if they say he's good and they want him on the team, then, it's a weird scenario. Don't get me wrong. But you can't just be like, well, this is what I'm taking my moral high ground here. It's like, okay, good for you, sports writer guy. I'm sure we'll all remember that you made that point. But then if something comes out and goes, I guess that's the other big thing. Like, if something comes out that, like, confirms Deshaun was right, let's say, theoretically, is everybody going to come out and retract that? Is there going to be a bunch of, like, pro stuff? It's like, no, it'll just get swept under the rug and we'll just stop bringing it up. So that's just where that irks me. Again, just going to say it again, so you can't say that I didn't. If he did it, fuck him, and he's terrible. So, just making that clear. Moving on. The Steelers, nothing great here. I mean, they took James Daniels from the Bears, but the Bears O-line's terrible, and they made a couple moves there, but whatever. Trubisky, our guy. Anyway, the Steelers' offense probably won't be good, but the defense will probably still be killer, and they'll probably still win 9-10 games, like they always do. But you never know. And if Trubisky is good for this team, I'm going to be livid. That's all I'm going to say about that. So we'll move on. We're on to the Houston Texans. They're useless. They're in full rebuild. I mean, maybe they'll improve on their win total by a couple games. Davis Mills might actually be somewhat decent, but I doubt he'll ever be significant enough that he's affecting win-loss totals for this team. And, yeah. Just a lot of small moves here, nothing crazy. Again, I don't think anybody's really trying to go to Houston, so whatever. Excuse me. We'll move on to the Indianapolis Colts. Big surprise. They trade for Matt Ryan, who was livid that they were trying to get Deshaun Watson. And they get him for a third-round pick, a steal for the Colts. The big rumor was that Baker was going to end up going in there after they were out of the Deshaun trade, Cleveland. They were like, well, now Baker's not going anywhere because we couldn't get Deshaun. Then they end up getting Deshaun. So it's like, okay, so Baker probably will go to Indy. And then Matt Ryan goes to Indy for nothing. I think he's basically a better fit in that role than Phillip Rivers was. And certainly Carson Wentz. So, I mean, the Colts will be, again, like, this team should be really good. And then they'll probably disappoint because they always do. Yannick Ngakoue, also a big acquisition. But the Matt Ryan thing, they're going to improve, but it's like, you guys need to get a young guy. Now they're just going through a quarterback a year. They're just playing rent-a-QB. I don't know how well that'll go. But is Matt Ryan better than Baker? I don't know. Maybe for their offense, I still just don't know. I'm very curious to see where Baker's going to go now. I'm sure that'll be some really splashy move. Maybe Seattle would take them up on that. I don't know. But that's going to be interesting. The NFL is going to be so different next year. I'm so excited. God damn it. Can't wait to buy Madden. Oh, we still have the draft coming. God, I love football. All right. The Jaguars overpaid for a fuck ton of receivers and O-linemen. Hey, it's kind of like what happened. Well, this happens every year. There's a team that's not very good. They need to bring guys in. They have to overpay to get them in there, like the Hornets did. Last season? Like before last season? Look, you want to improve. That's the whole point. There's a weird thing in sports media now where it's basically like you should either tank or be a contender, and if you're just a middle-of-the-road team, you're fucking up. I don't agree with that. You have to improve year over year. That's how it actually works. You shouldn't be banking on, oh, we're going to lose and lose and lose and lose, and then one day we'll just have a stacked roster and we'll just make a run. It's like, how about you just try to get better all the time? So that's what the Jaguars had to do. That's what they're doing. What's the point of having Trevor Lawrence, who people are still saying is a can't-miss prospect, basically just because they don't want to be wrong. It's like he was terrible. There's a bunch of people trying to say, oh, if you actually look at the tape, like he was doing a bunch of really good stuff. No, he wasn't. Look at the numbers. That's all you really got to do. Now, I know sometimes numbers can be misleading. Not when they're bad. If the numbers are bad, that's because you're bad. Sorry. But they have an O-line and they have some weapons now, so if they don't improve, what's the excuse going to be this year? New coach, new everything. I get it. You're not supposed to be a star in your second year, but hey, maybe a positive TD to interception ratio? Trevor? All right. The Titans, they got Robert Woods, their big acquisition. Also, Austin Hooper is nice. Re-signed some O-linemen. Nothing really big on defense, but hey, that's a good, complete team already. They don't need much. We'll see what happens. I would love for the Titans to make a run. They're also a really likable team for me. Moving to the West, this is where shit gets absolutely crazy. The Russell Wilson trade, obviously insane. 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a 5th. Plus Drew Lock, Noah Fant, which is a big one, and a D tackle. Huge haul. Are they going to improve that much? 100%, because Drew Lock is terrible. Wilson's going to, he's going to take them to a much bigger win total. They'll probably actually make the playoffs. The defense is good. A lot of weapons on that team. But Russ has been shaky last couple years, so we'll see. I don't think it's going to catapult them to they're going to win the West, but they'll have a solid shot at a playoff run. We'll see. But an absolutely crazy trade. The Broncos finally got a guy, at least. Was it the right guy to pick of all the guys available? I don't know. We'll see. Russell Wilson has been incredibly annoying as a personality to me, despite me loving him as a player, even since NC State. So, a little complicated on that. But man, it's just going to be such a tough division. The Chiefs, nothing big there. Extended a couple guys. They signed Justin Reed. I think they're letting Tyrann Mathieu go. And they signed Smith-Schuster, which could be something, could be nothing. The Chiefs will be the Chiefs. The Raiders made a couple moves at running back. The big move, obviously, they get Devontae Adams. They make him the highest paid receiver ever, which is crazy, but that was the number he wanted. So any team that was going to get him had to pay that. And everybody's going to say that they overpaid. Well, everybody who had him would have overpaid because that's the number he wanted. So even if the Packers re-signed him, apparently they were willing to offer that. That's what they had to do. Okay, and Aaron Rodgers just looks even more fucking like an asshole because he was going to leave because they don't make the personnel decisions he wants. But he understands that if they re-sign him for the massive amount of money he wants, that they have to let Devontae Adams go if they want to have a team. And he's like, all right, that's fine. But your whole thing was that you want to be a contender, so go fuck yourself. I mean, I'm never going to be on anyone's side on the Packers, but just what a fucking prick. What a selfish asshole. And that's a huge move for the Raiders. A lot of people are like, oh, the Raiders lose this trade because of the money. What the fuck are you talking about? They had nothing. Now they have this guy. They already had a bunch of number 2 guys. Renfro's now going to be so much better. Darren Waller is going to be so much better. It's huge for their offense. Maybe Derek Carr isn't the right guy, but I think it'll be fine. They were already a pretty good team, to the surprise of a lot of people. They also added Chandler Jones, Bilal Nichols. They added pieces to their defense. So, I mean, again, you got to do something. So I think that's a huge move. The Chargers, oh my God. This year they're going to win the division. I tried to go early on that bet. Last year they were terrible down the stretch and it was heartbreaking. But they extend Mike Williams. Huge additions on defense. They add J.C. Jackson and Khalil Mack, which means they're going to get more pressure and have better coverage. They add a D-line. They're going to be excellent. On defense and offense next year. A lot of rumors are that they're going to take an O-lineman in the draft too and just improve that even more. Watch out, everybody. The Cowboys, big loser. They just re-signed Gallup, but they lost Amari Cooper. They re-signed some guys on defense, but they mostly just lost players, so pretty rough if you're in Dallas. But again, Dallas ain't winning shit anyway, so whatever. This might be the Eagles' year, but I don't know. That defense or that division is shitty anyway, so who really cares? Giants, who cares? They're the Giants. They didn't do anything notable anyway. The Eagles, same deal there. They re-signed some guys, nothing huge. Washington gets Carson Wentz for a 7th-round pick. So, oh no, they got Carson Wentz and a 7th-round pick for 2/3. So, not a big steal, but like, are they going to improve that much over Heineke? At least Heineke's fun. I think this is probably going to be a bad year for Carson Wentz. Nothing else of note really there. The Bears, my guys, Byron Pringle, Equimania St. Brown. They're adding speed to the offense. That's something, but there's no number one now, so that's not great. Not that we really had one last year. Robinson just kind of fell off the face of the earth. Lucas Patrick on the O-line. That's a good move. Again, we couldn't get Larry Ogunjobi, sadly, so we had to go with Justin Jones. I don't know what the plan is here. Kind of seems like maybe they're just like, this is going to be like a 2-year before we really improve. Maybe they'll make some moves on the draft. There's still a lot of time. I mean, Teron Armstead, still a free agent. But it at least seems like Ryan Poles is trying to take the team in the right direction. He's going to get weapons, and he's going to build out the O-line. He's going to actually build a real team here. That's all I really care about. As long as Justin Fields isn't getting his ass kicked on every goddamn snap again this year, then this year's a success. I'm not expecting to make the playoffs, but just improvements. Just give the guy a chance. As long as he has a chance, I don't care with what the win total is. The Lions, they're trying to make some moves, get some weapons, do all these things. They're still the Lions. They're still pretty void of talent. But I love Dan Campbell. They're the only team in the division other than the Bears that I could root for. So, honestly, I hope that they are somewhat competent. The Packers, fuck them. I hate them. And all they really did was re-sign some guys. So, we'll see. Rodgers is eating up their entire salary cap, so I don't know how they're going to replace Devontae Adams. All in all, they're going to be worse, but they're still the best team in the division. The Vikings also didn't make any real notable moves. The Falcons, looks like their QB is going to be Marcus Mariota, so they're not going to be very good. But he played with Arthur Smith in Tennessee, so that can be some moves. Other than that, extensions and some small defensive moves. Nothing crazy there. The Panthers, they're just a fucking mess. They tried to make themselves out to be like, oh, we're going to become this new contender and like innovative front office. Oh, David Tepper, I'm an aggressive owner. I'm going to spend money. This team's going to be good. And they're just terrible, and they're just going to stay terrible. So that's fun. I mean, their defense will probably be good again, but I mean, who is their quarterback going to be? They literally have no idea. Maybe they might draft somebody in desperation. Probably should have done that last year, guys, when you took a corner who was the second corner, but you took him ahead of the other guy. Just a horrible move. Saints have done nothing except for sign Marcus May and extend Jameis, so that's interesting. Tampa, they're tooling. Made a couple moves on defense, but they're going all in on the offense. Brady's coming back, re-sign Fournette, acquire Shaq Mason, sign Russell Gage, re-sign Chris Godwin, re-signing Brashad Perriman, signed another guard, re-sign the center. Like, they're all in again, and I love it. Okay? More Brady is great, and I'm glad he's back. It lasted a whole, month? The Cardinals, nothing. Who cares? If they don't figure out what's going on with Kyler, which they probably won't, kind of starting to think maybe Kyler isn't the guy just because of the way everything's going. Like, you're not just going to win the Super Bowl, dude. You know, you got to get there a couple times. He's basically like, no, we lost in the playoffs and I played like shit, so I want something else. It's like, well, go do something else, man. You haven't earned anything yet. Anyway, the Rams, big extension for Stafford. They sign Allen Robinson, which is a pretty great move, but, you know, I assume he'll bounce back. He's finally going to be on a good team for the first time in his entire career. I just don't get how the Rams continue to have so much money. It just seems like everybody gets $100 million deals on the Rams. It's like, how do they even have a roster? If Stafford's making this much, Robinson's making this much, Donald's making a fuck ton, like, you just keep naming guys. They just keep paying people so much money. I just don't understand how that works. 49ers have been quiet. There's still Jimmy G trade rumors there. Where's he going to go? Not to Cleveland, because they got Deshaun Watson, and not to Indy, because they got Matt Ryan. So it's just, I don't know. Maybe he ends up in Carolina. Who knows what's going on there? The Seahawks, again, they just lost. They got a couple players in that trade and some draft picks, but now their offense is just not looking great. They're probably going to run it 60 times a game and see how that works. But they need somebody else other than Drew Lock. Drew Lock is very clearly not the guy there. And yeah, that's it. The draft is coming up. Who knows who's going to take who? Probably going to be more trades there. Probably going to be some splashy jumps that you wouldn't expect, like I just mentioned with Carolina taking J.C. Horn. Like, there's going to be crazy shit like that. Maybe a QB goes way higher than you would have thought. I'm just thrilled to see, hopefully the Bears make some moves that I'm excited with. And breaking news, see, I knew this was going to happen already in the middle of this podcast. Zadarius Smith going to Minnesota, which, why would you do that? They're not going to be any good. They need to move on from Kirk Cousins. Maybe that's another trade option from someone somewhere. I don't know. The news is going to keep coming. I'm sure by the time this comes out tomorrow, even more shit's going to break out. So who fucking knows? But God, I love this sport. I love how things just keep happening. I'm thrilled to see where it goes. I already can't wait for next season. Football's the greatest thing to ever happen on earth. And we'll see. Go Bears. Thanks for tuning in. Next week's episode is already banked. It's going to be a long rant about how I love Kanye West again. And the movie Flea, the animated Danish documentary that's up for some Oscars. Oh, fuck. God damn it. I just realized that means it's going to come out after the Oscars. Whatever. I guess that's still a couple days within relevancy. Anywho, thanks for tuning in. Episode 100, video special, ideally coming on time, which would be, 4 weeks from now. Checks out. I'll keep you updated on that because there's going to be a couple episodes in between. Thanks for tuning in to the NFL Network. I mean, Requiem for a Tuesday. I mean, Wednesday. Oh, God. What's happening? But before I go, I just want to remind you sweet little darlings out there. I are fat. You are fat. We are fat. Calculator.